that one on my phone?
Good. I always say good morning. It's early here. You don't understand.
It's a good morning.
Okay. The Monday Movie Club. Some people might see it in the evening, might see it in the afternoon. Today we're continuing our project where the five of us have recommended for the whole year this year movies that we watch every week. I'm Frank Gaffney. Here with me is Amy Goldman, who loves Chinese food. Joel Fenster. Do I see any dragon things? I don't think so.
Just my butt.
Mark Wotitz Gartner, who stole an image from Getty. And Annie Chung King. Good morning, everybody. So this week, we go with Mark's choice, which is called Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. Mark, you said you were torn between this one and an actual Bruce Lee movie. Why'd you pick the biopic?
Well, you guys technically picked it. I gave you the option of either Enter the Dragon and this. I know Annie specifically said she'd seen Enter the Dragon a number of times, but had never seen Dragon. And I thought it'd be interesting if anybody wanted to know more about Bruce Lee. So, well, I'll say quickly is that
I'll go into it. Go ahead. So, wait, let's talk a little bit about martial arts first, Mark. So obviously you were, I don't know, a pink belt. What were you?
I have multiple black belts. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. And so this was near and dear, right? The whole martial arts thing.
Yes, but what I was going to say is, when I started off in 1984. I was 9 years old, so I wasn't really interested in the history and culture of martial arts. In fact, my mom said she was putting me in karate. I called it karate for years. I was taking Taekwondo. I didn't even know the difference. And then years later, as I became a teenager, I started getting into it. And, this is the late 80s, early 90s. So there's also Van Damme and Steven Seagal. It was good timing. And I matured and I got into Bruce Lee. And then this movie hit when I was 18. And it was the perfect timing where I was really getting into it. I was already a Bruce Lee fan. And then this turned me into like a super fan.
Did you read his book, though? The Bruce Lee book? You're going to show us?
This is Linda's, the one that the movie was based off of, which is definitely biased. And then this is the Robert Klaus one, Bruce Lee.
But I think Frank's asking about Bruce Lee, the book that they published.
The Tai Jundo book that he wrote.
Jeet Kune Do. No, I didn't. I never studied Jeet Kune Do. That was more of the beliefs behind his system that he created.
Okay. All right. So well, let's talk about our movie. So 30 years ago, this very week, this movie premiered, and it dramatizes the life of actor and martial artist Bruce Lee.
Wasn't the movie in 93?
93. Yes. 29 years ago, this very week. Math was never one of my strong points.
The pandemic's thrown everybody off with time, so
yeah. I still think it's 1989. Okay. And martial artist Bruce Lee, here played by Jason Scott Lee, no relation. And it follows his relocation from the US to Hong Kong, to his career as a martial arts teacher first, and then a TV and film actor, and also touches on the racism that he was confronted with, it seems like on a daily basis. The thing I loved about the movie is that director Rob Cohen, a Jewish person, decided to make this biography of Bruce Lee into a Bruce Lee movie, which I thought was so fun. And I'd never seen any Bruce Lee movies, so I have no idea. But if they're as much fun as the martial arts scenes were here, then I think I need to watch Enter the Dragon. So, but of course, we started to touch on this. The film plays fast and loose with the actual facts. Bruce Lee had already made 20 films by the time he came to America. And Johnny Sun did not break Bruce Lee's back. I don't even think there is a Johnny Sun. Bruce Lee did not come up with the idea for Kung Fu, the TV show. And he was not plagued by a demon. But it's a great metaphor. I think it serves the movie very well. And it does allow some more scenes with this great choreography. But I think if his wife, and Jennifer Jason Lee, is that her name?
Linda Lee Cadwell.
Oh, Linda Lee, yeah. Who, by the way, is still alive, and she's 87 years old. and she's probably still a terrible voiceover artist. This is my husband. I loved him very much. And speaking of terrible, Jason Scott Lee, he's great at the martial arts part, but he is not a good actor. His final speech is laughable. It really is. I mean, the whole thing, and it's the one time really that playing the comic effect really detracted from the movie, because it's such a powerful speech, and he's overacting so much, and he even breaks the closet door. I'm like, no, this needs to be a real moment. This can't be just another one of your comic things. So, and if it had been a serious moment, it would have helped tremendously. And, you know, and again, referencing last week's movie, I don't think his tits were up to it. I'm just saying. But, you know, he's had a steady career since then, so good for him. And he can currently be seen on Doogie Kamealoha, MD. He's a regular on that show. But I digress. The movie's battles are fun. I really enjoyed that. And showing, you know, it really showing his move, you know, going from Hong Kong to being a superstar. You know, it was fun enough, and it did touch on the racism issue, which I thought was, you know, obviously for 1993 was pretty progressive. And I love when although again it was overplayed, when they watched the movie and it was a completely Asian audience and they did nothing at the end of the movie, and you know, obviously they were so moved that they saw this beautiful movie with Asian people in it not being stereotypes. So, and then finally they applaud. I'm like, please, Mary.
They stole that right from the producers.
Oh, right. Then all of a sudden everybody's screaming and applauding. Oh, so you're saying they were in shock first.
Right.
So, I will
But
call.
Frank, all I kept thinking, sorry, was how much you and I hate when everybody reacts the exact same
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. So let's call this a semi-fictionalized highlight reel of the life of the late Bruce Lee. And then the whole thing of how he died. I mean, this movie just kind of goes, and he died. But so 3 stars for me. I did enjoy it, but I hardly would call it a biography. Annie, what'd you think? You had seen Enter the Dragon, you said.
Yeah, many
So you're a
times.
fan of Bruce Lee. Annie, you could give us the Asian perspective.
Yes.
Annie, was it nice seeing all of your people on screen?
I felt so connected to the movie. Yeah, I had seen Bruce Lee Enter the Dragon, but that's about it. I didn't know much about him except that he's this, you know, great Asian
Martial arts.
martial artist, you know, and
So
he
Mark, were there
iconic.
other Bruce Lee movies was that the only really big one?
Sorry, actual Bruce Lee movies?
Yeah.
Well, Enter the Dragon was the biggest.
And
It was the American made.
American.
The other 4 preceding that were all in Hong Kong.
Right. So that really our only real taste of Bruce Lee was that movie.
That's what I should have brought up to put behind me, is the Criterion box set that's got all 5 films in it.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, go get it while we wait.
No.
So right, so Enter Dragon and the Green Hornet you were probably too young for.
Right. So, I mean, I knew of Bruce Lee, you know, as a martial artist and stuff, but I didn't really know much. So watching this, I was a little confused, you know. I thought it was going to be a biography. And then I'm watching it and I'm like, wow, this is like, I never heard of this stuff. So then thanks for telling me that he never broke his back and that he had to learn to walk again, because I was like, wow, that's amazing that, you know, he would. So
Actually, Mark, correct us if I'm wrong. I think he did injure his back at one point, just not the way it's depicted in the film.
Yes. That is
Because he was so obsessive and a perfectionist, he did have back problems. He did have headaches because he overworked himself a lot. So he did have back problems, but it was never, yeah, nobody ever broke his back.
I'm glad
Okay.
you said that because I knew the movie wasn't a true biography, but I thought that something that bad happened and I did think, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that was bullshit.
Good.
Yeah, so I mean, it was interesting to see how even like it was set in San Francisco, right? How even there was such racism because there's such a big Asian population there, you know. So that was interesting. That he knew how to cha-cha was interesting too.
And that was real. He really was the Cha-Cha King of Hong Kong or whatever. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. Said he won awards and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. I thought it was an interesting movie. The movie doesn't mention, I was like looking through Wikipedia, but doesn't mention his sister or brother that he had.
It skipped over a lot.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
had a sister and a brother.
And a mother that
Yeah.
lived, that he lived with.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, no, but it was great. You know, I think it was interesting, very interesting. I never, you know, the fact that they were watching that one clip from Breakfast at Tiffany's.
And
Yeah.
I also like that they showed the clip of the actual Bruce Lee movie. Was that real? Yeah, that was
Yeah.
great.
And just to touch on that with the racism and stuff, it was specific to movies and TV where Bruce was, very upset at the way that Asians were always portrayed as, always with the, like you saw in Breakfast at Tiffany. So that's why he was very adamant about portraying real people. And like you said before about the part where he was carried on his shoulders, even though that was BS, the Asian people did gather around him because when he made his second movie that he made with that film production was The Chinese Connection. It was about Japanese basically mistreating the Chinese and the Chinese standing up to them. So it was a very pro-Chinese movement that he started.
Yes. And after I finished watching it, which I just bought on, because I didn't have time to do Dropbox. But anyway, coming up next was Fist of Fury. So I actually sat and watched through Fist of Fury.
Okay.
And that was good too. Except the dubbing over is just horrible. I kind of wish that I heard it in Chinese with English subtitles because it was just so bad.
Is Fists of Fury a Bruce Lee movie?
Yeah.
I think I've actually heard of it.
Yeah.
Fist of Fury, Chinese Connection, Game of Death, Return of the Dragon, Game of Death, and then Enter the Dragon. Well, they've been renamed now for more accurate naming, but those are the 5 that I have that were the original 5.
I think if I remember correctly, I think the big boss was originally entitled Fist of Fury, and then they changed it and used the plural for the other one. And
so I have Fist of Fury, which is now, which was originally the Big Boss, and I think has been renamed the Big Boss Man,
Right,
whatever.
okay.
And that was his first one that
Right.
we saw in the theater when everyone applauded.
right.
But
Ah,
pretty tragic then. He was 32 when he
Yeah.
died. That's craziness.
Yeah.
All right, so Anne, what's your star rating?
3.25.
3.25. Aim, did you have fun even though it paused there at the end?
I fixed it. Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy the fight scenes are fun. The thing I hated about them is the thing that I hate about movies is when they're campy. I don't find campy funny. And I didn't know if they were adding all those ridiculous sound effects to be funny
They
or they
were.
were being serious.
No,
And
that
I
was
realized,
funny.
okay, it's gotta be, it's
I
gotta be.
mean, you
to
don't
be
throw
funny.
somebody into a bunch of people and hear bowling pins go
That
down.
was when, and that
That's a
was
joke.
fairly early on in the movie.
Yeah.
That was it for Tim.
That was the
when
first.
I
That was the first fight. Yeah.
That was when I said, okay, these stupid sound effects are supposed to be
Yeah.
funny. Because
Yeah.
before that, when they were fighting at the gym, I thought it was ridiculous and bizarre.
But Amy, more than funny, it's supposed to be an old kung fu flick. That's what the sound effects were.
Yeah. Which is probably the reason why I've never seen one, because it would probably drive me crazy. And I did almost watch either Enter the Dragon or the one that came out before Enter the Dragon, because I looked up which is his best. And the one before that was the better one, the Something Else Dragon. That you said.
Return of the Dragon is the one that had Chuck Norris, his infamous fight with Chuck Norris.
Yeah. So I was like,
Is
should I
that the
watch
one
this?
where Chuck Norris is stripping and he's stripping? That one?
Yes.
And I thought, yeah, I thought he was just so bad, and nobody can scream at the top of his lungs till his throat is bleeding like this kid, Jason Scott Lee, can. There were 3 scenes where he screamed so loudly, like one when he was, with the broken back, and then the last one, then there was another one. I was like, oh my God, calm down. It was horrible. I hated him. I thought, what's her name was very good though. I can't remember her name now.
Lauren Holly.
Yeah, I thought she did a good job. So I was like, I'm just not digging the campiness and the weirdness and the too many fight scenes, that like the one with the workers with the
Yeah. the
Cleavers.
knives.
I can't
yeah.
think right now. I'm sorry. It's too early.
Because,
Early.
yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. It was so ridiculous, and them jumping up the it's just like, what am I watching? So I did not like it.
That whole scene right there is like right out of a kung fu flick from the
Yeah.
70s. That was
Yeah.
definitely paying homage to it.
And I
I
think
thought
that's
that
a-
for sure.
I think so. I think that's the big unfortunate negative for me, having no knowledge of that. It's like jumping into the multiverse and not knowing what the hell's going on. So I think that
Like
was-
you will be doing later this week.
yeah, right. So I think that is why my stars are going to be so much lower. I'm so sorry, Mark. I'm going to 2.5.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, I didn't hate it by any means, but I was very disappointed.
Joel,
Um,
you didn't get your box set.
no, I told you I wasn't gonna go down and get it. It's too early in the morning for that.
Or evening or afternoon,
Yes,
whenever you
whenever
watch it.
it's too early at Christmas for me to be doing that. I think there is a great movie to be made based on Bruce Lee's life. This is
Yeah.
not it. It's fun in spots, but tonally it is all over the place. The idea of him kind of being cursed and haunted by this demon is interesting, and it's a nice through line, but it's a serious thing. And then we're switching over to, we're going to do all the fight scenes that take place in real life as if they were scenes from a movie,
Bruce Lee
with the special
movie, yeah.
effects and the screaming and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I was like, that's comical. So tonality, it's all over. It's not working for me. I think he had an interesting life. I think that it's a problem I always have with biopics when one of the people who is intimately involved with that person's life is still alive. The movie becomes problematic because you're getting a completely biased point of view.
Right, a little too reverent.
Yeah, and even here, it's a muddled reverence because I'm not really sure where exactly things are coming from at times. And
The cat looks as confused as you are.
yeah,
Well, let me say, Joel, the tonality didn't bother me. I definitely thought it was very clever to do the Bruce Lee story with those comical fights, because that really
I
is
don't-
what he became known for.
I don't
And
disagree with that. But my problem is that for me, it was too opposite of other scenes in the film. So
Right.
it's like we're going from, oh, this is really serious and interesting. Oh, this is really fun and goofy, to, or like the scene in the movie theater where they're watching Breakfast at Tiffany's. That's an important scene on a number of levels, and it's a great scene. But then we're back to,
Yeah,
the-
I loved how Lauren Holly was laughing hysterically, and she
Yeah.
turned and looked at Bruce and she went, "Oh, wait a minute,
yeah,
this is not a good thing."
You knew that was going to happen.
not
Yeah,
in
but
1993. 1993 is still, very wonky when it comes to things like that. And that's one of the better things about the film, is that it touches on a lot of these racial issues. And I think a lot of that does work. I mean,
No, I meant what you knew was going to happen. She was going to look to him, and he would be the
Oh,
only
sure.
one not,
Yeah.
annoyed.
well, you're in a theater
I
of
s-
all white people, so it's,
I certainly was annoyed when I watched Breakfast at Tiffany's last month.
right.
But go ahead, Joel. I'm sorry. No.
No, you finish. I don't know where I was
All
going.
right, so you said tonality, it was uneven for you, and but again, just like Bruce Lee had done in his lifetime, it was very much trying to get rid of some of those stereotypes and
Sure.
and and I think did a very nice job at that.
No, yes, it did. But again, I think for me, some of that tonality seems to play against it at times. It's like we're trying to make a serious movie, but we're adding this in that plays into these stereotypes that we all wrongly have about martial arts films. I mean, growing up, I caught a couple of them when on the ABC Thursday after, the 4:30 movie. And I was like, I don't understand what this is, and it wasn't until much later in life when I started to appreciate them for what they are. And watching some of the films, I forget who mentioned, Annie, I think you mentioned watching it in the original Chinese with English subtitles. That is a better way to watch these movies, quite honestly, because you can follow along easier without being distracted by the bad overdubbing. But you get bad overdubbing not just in those type of films, you get them in spaghetti westerns and lots of oddball films of the times. The other thing about the film that really bothered me is as I think Frank mentioned, is the end. It's, and he died. It's like that episode of The Simpsons, and the children were saved. Oh, let's say by Mo. I mean, it's just kind of like, you couldn't get into that. You couldn't show that. You couldn't give us more of that. You've had us watching this for 2 hours, and then it's just, oh, by the way, he died. We all died.
Well, I think that can be explained by what Linda said after the movie, that she chose to, so she's probably the one who said, you got to gloss over this or you're not getting the movie.
Again,
His life, yes.
Again, that's the problem when you're making a biopic of somebody who,
good
somebody's
point.
still like. Great Balls of Fire. Jerry Lee Lewis was still alive and heavily involved in that film, and that film is a ridiculous hot mess of fire. But I enjoyed the film for what it is. I'd seen it before, probably around the time it came out, but I don't remember having seen it since, because there was a lot that I was just like, oh yeah, okay. I'm gonna give it 2.75.
I get what you're saying, Joel. I really do, but the tonality issues and glossing over that, and it could have been, if it seriously wanted to address those issues, then it would have been a more serious movie. Yeah.
And I think there is a really good movie to be made out of his life. It's just,
I thought you were going to say to be made out of this movie. Like
no.
I could cut it out.
Unless it's like a chapter in a better movie.
Exactly.
I agree. I very much voted to watch this one over Enter the Dragon, because I was like, I don't know anything about Bruce Lee except his name and what he did. I would love to know his story.
Well, my introduction to Bruce Lee was watching Batman, as a kid, because he was Kato in the Green Hornet. The episodes of the Adam West Batman series, and I was like, this guy is cool. I want to see more of them. And unfortunately, because of my age, the Green Hornet show wasn't available anywhere because it ran for one season, was canceled, and it didn't go into syndication like Batman did. So I didn't
make sure he keeps the mask on.
Right.
Yeah. I knew the Green Hornet from Fat Albert and Cosby Kids, because they used to watch the Brown Hornet.
Brown Hornet, yeah.
Did everybody catch the actual Green Hornet as the director of that episode?
Yeah.
I think I read that.
And he died right after this movie.
Oh, see?
All right, so Mark,
Yes.
let's have some final thoughts, shall we? I'm
Yeah.
assuming you're gonna be a 3.5 star.
That's exactly where I'm falling. Yep, exactly. I hadn't seen it in about 15 years. I still remembered a lot of the scenes and the dialogue. I didn't remember how much loosely based it was on his life.
I immediately went to Wikipedia and be like, wait a minute.
Well, yeah, and I was definitely more critical now at 47 watching it than I was when I was younger. It was just fun. It was action, and I didn't really care all that much. As Joel mentioned, I was going to say the same thing. It is highly biased and seen through rose-colored glasses of Linda. It's obvious. I mean, if anybody ever did care to read a biography, like I said, the Robert Klaus one is the one I read. I only thumbed through hers because I've seen the movie. It's not really accurate. It's a nice love letter to him. That's the way I feel about it. It is not really, I mean, any movie that you have that's not a biography is going to have some movie magic and so forth to make it more interesting. And so I give it that license. I'm okay with it.
So was Linda, obviously.
Exactly. I know you guys had a problem with Jason Scott Lee. I love the way he moves, and I know
Oh, yeah.
He's a
and he
dancer.
was. I mean, he's a dancer, and I thought he did a fantastic job of imitating him.
Yeah, and he looked great walking away.
Well, I was going to say, and I'm not into blondes, but Lauren Holly, hot, real hot. And did everybody catch the very similar to Julia Roberts, blink and you miss it nipple in their lovemaking scene, just like right out of
Not all of us have that nipple radar that you have, Mark.
yeah.
I was sitting
Well,
there watching.
I'm sure
Mark's
when-
gonna love this for Jason Scott Lee's breasts.
There you go.
Well, first of all,
Restart.
if I had his physique, I would move south and burn all my shirts and walk around shirtless all the time. Just anybody who, if you ever do want to go and watch the movies, just know that the one behind me, Game of Death, was his fourth film, which actually came out after Enter the Dragon because he stopped making it in order to go make Enter the Dragon and then died. And he had only filmed the ending, which was fight with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Dan Inosanto. The whole levels, which actually became a video game called Kung Fu, where you have to fight and go up different levels. It was based on this movie, but the entire beginning through the middle of the movie is a stand-in. So it's really, if you actually watch it, it's almost a joke because it's horrible. They just have some random guy playing him, and then all of a sudden it's Bruce Lee at the end.
It's almost as bad, but not quite, as Plan 9 from Outer Space with Bela Lugosi.
No frame of reference. He
Oh,
did the
sorry.
same thing.
Yeah, no.
Bela Lugosi
This
died.
is
when they were
a
making it, and they hired somebody. They hired a dentist who's like 3 feet taller than Bela Lugosi was as his stand-in to reshoot scenes they hadn't done. So
this is a notoriously bad movie that I thought, okay, it must be funny because it's bad. It's not. It's just bad.
Plan 9.
Wait. Which
Yeah.
one? Game of
Plan 9.
Plan 9.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Before everyone discussing the voiceovers and stuff like that too. When Bruce Lee hit and became famous, there was a lot of knockoff movies, which is why there was so many, like they called it the chopsaki flicks of the time and everything. It was, and a lot of them were really, really bad. But like anything, that's what you're going to get. But he really did. He also, you got to remember, he created, just like Schwarzenegger created the bodybuilding phenomenon, and he really helped propel martial arts to become mainstream and really changed the course of history.
Mostly because he
there wouldn't have been
died.
a time. Say again.
Mostly because he died.
I think he would have had a bigger impact if he had lived.
Yes, he would have, of course, but because he died, that brought attention to that last movie and all of that. And then
but before that, which they didn't really mention in the movie, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was a huge student of his, and he taught a lot of celebrities.
Mhm.
So I don't know that he was ever hurting for money like they had. I think that was just movie making, because he was like, the trainer to the stars at the time. So he was doing all right. And when you have celebrities talking about, Kung Fu, which nobody had heard of really, it helps bring it to mainstream. So
Okay.
that's it. 3.5 stars for me.
And I always say this on almost all the movies we've chosen to watch, the nostalgia factor has driven the person who picked that movie, and I think that's the case here too. Yeah, so that's fine. All right, so join us next Monday. We are actually venturing to the actual movie theater this week to see the next chapter in the MCU, which is the whole reason we started this stupid group. Doctor Strange in the Multitude of Madness.
Multiverse.
Multitude.
Multiverse.
The Multiverse of Madness, which we will discuss next week, but some of us have already seen it.
Annie, you
Maybe-
look like you're cueing somebody to come in. Oh, they're yelling at you. We gotta go.
Yeah, we gotta go. Annie's going to see the movie right now. All right, kids. Thanks for watching. I'm Frank Gaffney. Go see a movie. Joel, hit the stop button.